Hi, welcome to my compound life. We build assets, we build habit, and most importantly, we build freedom, financial freedom. Okay, so I'm your host, Jonathan. Good to see you. Before we move along for the day, please can you hit subscribe? I'm on my 8th subscriber. It'd been very nice if you can become my 9th. If you do become my 9th subscriber, just leave a comment and write 9th, right? Just to let me know who you are. And at the same time, please just hit the like. Okay. So it is the 27th of November, right? Thursday morning. So all's good. Weather's a bit windy. Shadowy, so I kind of anticipate rain soon. Apart from that, let's quickly look at our Bitcoin price for the day. So yes, we do talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of different assets, but this time around in this specific video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin again. Okay, so Bitcoin, it is at 91,500. I think we closed the day yesterday. Let me check. Yesterday we were at the high of 90,600, low of 86,000, and then today we opened at 90,488, reach a high of 91,953, almost 92,000. We're kind of hovering at around 91,000. Okay, so we did make progress for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, because we were at the low of 84,000, well, 83,000 much earlier, and then on the 21st, that was about 7 days ago, we were pretty low. At around 80,000. Okay, so we definitely made progress. It was kind of parabolic move, to be honest, about 10,000 for approximately a week's worth of progress. So that's good. But let's check overall sentiment for Bitcoin, right? I think for the time at present, time of recording, we're at around fear and greed index around 22, right? Extreme fear for Bitcoin still. However, we were up about 15 yesterday. And then we're at 22, so that's good. But at the same time, let's quickly look at the Bitcoin ETF inflow or outflow from the ETF. And by the way, this data, it's only taken for the US only, so it's excluding the European and the UK ETPs or ETN, right? So for Bitcoin, yesterday, it was a very peanut inflow of 21 million, right? At least it is an inflow, right? Because we have so much outflow for the past 2 to 3 weeks, and it's always good to see some positive inflow. And then yesterday it was inflow of 128 million. Okay, so 2 consecutive inflow days for Bitcoin. Ethereum, it's much better. Ethereum were around 60 million inflow, so it were actually 4 consecutively positive inflow for Ethereum for the past 4 days. Okay, so that's good. And then Solana continue. Oh, yesterday was actually an outflow. Okay, so I think usually Bitcoin hits and then eventually it cascades down to the smaller crypto assets like Solana. So Solana, unfortunately enough, it was a outflow of 8.2 million. after all the positive inflow from inception, right? So even for Solana, I think for this specific outflow, it's very, very minimal. Okay, so where does that put us? I think for the month of November, this month, 2025, total net inflow for Bitcoin, for the ETF, it's still a negative of 3.55 billion, right? So that's actually more outflow than inflow for the month of November. I think just to also highlight, the same applies for recent February this year. It was around 3.56 billion outflow too, right? So extreme fear is what we're seeing right now. Okay, so what I want to talk about today, I think yesterday I've made a video specifically to chat about some of the crucial timing. Okay, and yes, I think, you know, the way that I go about in buying or selling Bitcoin to maximize my gain in my specific swing bag, right? So I'm talking about swing bag now, not really talking about my hodl bag. So I'm extremely always bullish for my hodl bag for the future, right? So this would be Bitcoin that's stashed up for my kids, my grandchildren, and so forth, right? But I'm talking about my hodl bag. I'm talking specifically about my swing bag. You know, this is a tiny little bag that I do a little bit of swing trading, buy low, sell high. I don't use leverage. I use spot, and I still believe that when I do so, I can make enough income that can, you know, last me until my next bull market for Bitcoin, right? So for that case, because I think the reason for me creating this specific video, I think there are so much hopium out there right now that are talking about Bitcoin is rebounding. There's a huge rotation going on. These are the top 5 altcoins. These are the top 5 meme coins. These are the top 10 cryptocurrency that you guys need to look forward to for the next run, right? So I obviously spoke about timing, possible timing where liquidity would flow back into the system. But at the same time, I just want, because at the same time, there's so much influencers out there that are asking you guys, asking us to start rotate or shift our capital into the forthcoming, you know, meme coin or altcoins. I just want everyone to be extremely careful, right? Protecting your capital, it's so important right now, and I simply just need you guys to be aware, right? So I did some quick analysis of what's happening in terms of Bitcoin movement for now, right? Let's just purely talk about Bitcoin movement for now, right? When we are still obviously, we all know at present we are under the 50 days moving average, right? And that's pretty bad in a way because it is giving us indication that we are on the downtrends, right? We obviously hit the death cross, and then our 50 days moving average is currently under the 200 days moving average, right? So if I purely just look at the 3 death crosses that has been made during the bull cycle, right? So to me, we're kind of moving towards the bear cycle now, right? So during the time when we are kind of at the Bitcoin low of, around 60,000 moving on to about 126,000. We kind of also have gone through multiple death crosses too, right? So we've gone through approximately 3 of them, okay? And I'll just quickly call out a few. So the most recent one, it was around 7th of April until the 22nd of May, okay? So that death cross onto the golden cross, it took about 46 days, right? I need to go over here. Took about 46 days to recover, okay? And then the prior one was 2024, the 10th of August onto the 28th of October. So that specific death cross recovery onto the golden cross took about 80 days. Okay. And the third one, that was on the 2023, 12th of September death cross, leading on to the 30th of October golden cross. That took about 49 days to recover. Okay, so essentially what I'm trying to tell you would be, in regards to death crosses going to golden cross, specifically on a bull market, it tends to be shorter, right? However, what I wanted to highlight to you now is, what about during a bear market, right? So death cross, where it forms lower low, where the lower low, it's kind of like a slow grind of the lower low, right? So that happened sometime in 2022, 14th of January. That was when death cross formed, and it took about 400 days to get back to the golden cross, right? So that was like a year and a bit, right? And for it to get back to golden cross, it was on the 2023 17th of February, right? So just to highlight to you what happened here was, that was actually the previous Bitcoin all-time high cycle for the third Bitcoin cycle. Okay, so Bitcoin peaked at around November 2021, right? So that's obviously the third cycle Bitcoin peak at around, I think it was around 69,000, right? And then eventually it kind of trend down enough that onto the 14th of January 2022, that was when the death cross hit, right? So one might argue that we are still in a bull market, and this might essentially just be the mini death cross, right? So that would take, you know, few months to recover, right? But I just want to highlight to you that this death cross, if it plays out well, if we can quickly trend back into the 50 days moving average, we might have a good recovery, right? And then we may continue to ride on the business cycle. That's the video that I spoke about yesterday about, you know, waiting for the rate cut, waiting for the quantitative easing to come, waiting for the official announcement of money printing, right? So without any of such, you know, we need to have the expectation that potentially for this specific death cross, you know, it can essentially lead us onto onto a bear market. Okay, so for this specific bear market death cross, you know, that took well over 400 days to get back to golden cross. How many times Bitcoin price actually flirts and go over and above the 50 days moving average? So I did the count. It took about 10 times, right? Where the 50 days moving average were also trending lower low, right? So bear in mind, you know, the 50 days average, it will trend even lower, you know, when Bitcoin price actually goes a lot more lower too, right? So that's something to bear in mind when we look at the whole situation, right? Because I don't want to give you guys all hopium that, you know, Bitcoin will again reach another all-time high. Of course, personally speaking, I am long-term bullish, and I certainly hope that, you know, we can get back to the previous all-time high of 126K. But at the same time, you know, it's always about protecting my capital, protecting your capital in a way that I don't want more mistake to occur, right? So the 50 days moving average are definitely going lower now, okay? From the 18th of November, the 50 days moving average was around 109,000, right? And 6 days later, right now, we are on November 27th, because Bitcoin price is trending lower and lower very fast. Although there has been some strong recovery that we can see, Bitcoin, you know, gotten back from 80,000 to, you know, 92,000 today or yesterday. The 50 days simple moving average now is around 103,000, right? So I think by the time, if we can get a very good strong recovery in December, right? Maybe our simple 50 days moving average will be around 101, 102, or even 100,000, right? Depends on the Bitcoin price movement coming these few weeks. Okay, so I think a lot of people, they look at the 50 days moving average as kind of like an indicator to see, you know, whether they want to enter the market or they simply want to exit, right? And they treat that as kind of like a psychologically marker to determine whether they want to get out, right? Because there are so many people that kind of gone in onto the Bitcoin trade at a high end of, you know, at a higher price during this recent bull cycle, right? And to them, maybe getting back to the 50 days moving average is a good time to get out, right? So I'm not causing any FUD here. I certainly am not bearish about the whole situation, but because I've got a small little hodl bag that I'm trying to, you know, to maximize my income in the short period of time, and with the aim that I will get out of this small short-term swing bag. Sorry, did I just call hodl bag? I did say hodl bag, right? My short-term swing bag that I'm trying to sell off. Essentially, I'm also waiting for this indicator for the 50 days moving average, for us to get back at least onto the 50 days moving average before I kind of sell off more, right? So I think I've told you before in my previous video, as we are drawing closer towards the end of the 4 years Bitcoin cycle, and of course taking into consideration that liquidities are moving, flowing back into the system, without guaranteed, of course, but it certainly does seem like liquidity will be coming back, based on rate cut, based on ending of quantitative tightening on the 1st of December, leading on to QE, possible QE start, quantitative easing start in January, which, by the way, is not set in stone, right? And we always hope that with QE starts, there will be money printing, which, by the way, it's not set in stone too, right? So in that case, I just want everyone to be cautious, to be mindful in terms of not having too much hopium. Come on, move along, please. Not having too much hopium, not to have the expectation that Bitcoin and crypto are moving up again, right? Because put it this way, I think the market is at its all-time high for equity, right? And I think somehow so much money has been taken away from retail, like the meme coin, like the Trump hype, the President Donald Trump hype, the meme coin, where a lot of people has been burned big time, right? And the recent liquidation event on the 10th of October, that has actually taken a lot of money out from the system, right? And investors are essentially spooked with the whole experience, right? So I kind of felt investors, because of the market dynamic, the government shutdown, liquidity kind of restriction, there's simply not that much money out there that can even push this even higher, right? And even so, I think investors would probably be cautious enough to want to move their capital to safer growth investment like AI than for short-term investing, than taking the risk of putting more of that into Bitcoin. Because number one, Bitcoin, many of them already knew that Bitcoin 4-year cycle already ended, and they are now only speculating for the the business cycle, the liquidity cycle that are coming in. I don't think they will bet big on this specific cycle, right? So it's not going to be trillions of dollars suddenly flowing back into Bitcoin, where it starts to cascade down into altcoin and so forth, right? So from that sense, I don't want to be too bearish in this video, but I also want to highlight the fact that this could well be the situation. Okay, so yes, that's it, what I want to chat about in this video. Yes, there are things that we can look forward to, but at the same time, protect your capital whenever you've been given the opportunity. This dead cat bounce could potentially be that opportunity, right? And of course, I would love Bitcoin, getting back another all-time high. I think Tom Lee Many are very extremely bullish about Bitcoin. They're saying that Bitcoin will get into another all-time high of 200,000 USD. For me, I would play it extra safe, right? I would still exit some of my hodl back if we get that to that range. Yeah, I would definitely, access my hodl bag and to sell if we get back to that range. But because I've already got a huge upside in place, so that's why I will play this out quite cautiously. For any of the new holders, I think definitely this is kind of like a good opportunity to get in, to get, to extract some of that juicy gain, and then, dip your toes into Bitcoin when prices are pretty good right now. Okay, time to look for car parks. And that's it I want to chat about. Okay, please hit subscribe and become my 9th subscriber. You can drop a comment and let me know who you are, right? And that's it. And hit the like too. Hit the like just before you get out. Okay, so please hit the like before you get out. I think I'm gonna have to park here. Okay, so thanks for watching my Compound Life, and it's great having you all here. It's and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so thank you. See you. I'm Jonathan, and I hope to see you soon. Yes, thank you. Bye. Stop recording.